All right, I believe we have Shannon Spake ready to roll. Is that correct, Coop?
I'm here.
Yes. All right. Great. I'm glad that you are there and ready to roll. So, first of all, thanks for getting up early with us. Second, what in the world is going on with NASCAR as we roll into the weekend? I mean, we're about to be overloaded with sports options, the likes of which we've never seen before. Truly. What do you got for us?
It's great, right? I mean, I'd mentioned this to you, I think, last week, that we are getting ready to start our playoffs this weekend at Darlington, ironically the same place that we sort of relaunched when sports came back. And NASCAR has said all along, Clay, that they had planned on keeping the last 10 races, which is our playoffs, intact. They wanted them to stay exactly the way that they were. They wanted to get all 36 races in despite the fact that we were off for 10 weeks. And they did. And that's a big deal. We got every single points-paying race in. We had some midweek races. We had some double headers. But we're going to proceed with our playoffs starting this weekend. We've got 16 guys that'll ultimately get whittled down to just 4. So it goes 16, and then after 3 races, it goes down to 12, and then after 3 races, it's 8, and then the last final race is just 4 guys running for a championship. And obviously, we have some favorites with Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, and it's a great field. We had media days all week this week. Everyone's super excited to get this started. But, I mean, it's not the only thing that's starting, as you mentioned. I mean, we have been having these conversations since, like April, March, May, when all of these things happened, Clay, that this was going to happen. We were going to have so much sports at one point. Our DVRs were going to be filled, and it's here, and it's exciting. I leave for my first NFL game next week. I'm going to Detroit to do that game. It'll be Chicago at Detroit, and it's going to look much different this year, obviously, but, hey, we're doing it.
Yeah, so I'm curious about that. What have they told you about what your job will look like and feel like this year? So you're going to Detroit. What will that be like? When will you go in? How will just the basic sort of parameters of that game compare? Will you be allowed on the field? Where will you be during the game? Do you know those things?
Well, I'm hearing that we're not going to be allowed on the field. And listen, this is week 1, right? I think that this is how we're going to start. I don't know how it will proceed. So what I'm hearing is that we're not going to be allowed on the field, that we're going to have an area in the stadium that we will be sort of designated to. As far as practice, I think that will be determined by each team. Someone asked me, like, am I nervous about, kind of going on the road? I think practice is my concerned. I mean, that would be the safest place to be, right? Because all these players are getting tested and doing what they need to do to stay safe. Obviously, us keeping our distance and not us being from the outside and kind of coming in and being safe. So, I think it's a case-by-case basis in terms of whether or not we'll be able to go to practice or whether or not we will be able to get on the field at least some point, maybe down the road in the season. But starting week one, we will be in the stadium, but we'll be in a certain spot kind of doing our job. So that means like halftime interviews will look very different, whether it be us sort of yelling down to the coach or if we have a way to communicate with them via the distance. But like I said, I don't care if I'm doing the reports from a toilet inside the stadium. I mean, I'm just glad to be down there.
How wild is this going to be in the years to come to talk about wherever you are, like being present? Because for a lot of the NFL games you're going to, there will be no crowd. I think it's 6 out of the 32, at least to start, are going to have crowds. I don't believe the Lions are one of the teams that will have crowds. How weird is it going to be? Have you thought about it just from usually, for instance, you're hearing like the crowd is so loud and it's sometimes hard for you to hear, I imagine, like listening down your headphones and everything else. Now it's going to feel really strange, isn't it? Like just kind of standing in there with nobody around.
Yeah, I always think back on a quote that Coach K said to me, like before I worked the first Syracuse-Duke game at the Carrier Dome where there was like 39,000 people in the Carrier Dome. And I remember Coach K saying that this is a moment in time. And I just always kind of, that phrase, that sticks in my head. And that's what this entire season is going to be. It's going to be a moment in time that very few people are going to get the perspective that we covering the sport are going to get. And I'm excited. I know it's going to be very different, but I think it's also a huge storyline that we'll one day get to tell our kids and our grandkids down the road about how we did it during this time. I'm just proud that we're doing it, right? I'm proud that, Fox Sports figured out how to get NASCAR back on, and we moved through that seamlessly. Now we're all kind of working in the same direction to get the NFL and get this product going. I don't think people care how we get there, if we have to get tested, how everybody's getting on the field, the situations that we have to go through to make it happen. People are just excited to see the product on the field, and that's what I'm thrilled to be a part of. It is a moment in time, and I'm just going to stick with that and continue to think about that.
Speaking of how wacky it is, so my 9-year-old, I know you've got twin boys that are around the same age. My 9-year-old's going to turn 10 soon. My 5-year-old's going to turn 6, but my 9-year-old's a huge Braves fan. So this morning, we're going to go pick him up from school a little bit early. There's a doubleheader. We're staying in the hotel next door to the Braves Stadium and hopeful that we're going to have a good view based on what I've been told from the hotel room. How crazy of a story is that going to be that the only way you could watch 2020 baseball and actually be able to see it with your own eyes was by watching it from a hotel room?
Yeah, so my kids, I heard you tell this story earlier about an hour ago. My kids, they have this book series called I Survived. I don't know if you've seen
I've read
these.
a ton of.
I Survived.
I have read,
right.
Yes, a ton of I Survived books over the years. Yes.
Right. So they have this series, and they say to me almost on a daily basis, "Mommy, I Survived 2020 is going to be a book. I Survived Coronavirus is going to be a book." And so even my 10-year-olds are well aware of how crazy this time is right now. I mean, it's on the news all the time. We try to watch the news, but not have it on where they're constantly hearing all of this stuff. But yeah, it's incredible. But again, I mean, these are stories that I think make time interesting, right? They're stories that your kids will be able to tell their kids one day. But at least you're getting it done. You're being creative, I mean, at least they're being able to go watch a baseball game. Not a lot of kids are being able to do that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it's going to go, but I think it's going to be a wacky story to tell in the years ahead, and I'm excited to try it out. But the fact that we're doing this, if you had ever told me was going to be a reality, I remember, you probably do too, back in the day when they had the Sky Dome open, it was like such a huge deal in Toronto, and they had the hotels that you could watch. And there were all the, craziness associated with that. And now it's become a lot more common. But I never would have believed that the only way you could watch a game, obviously Waveland Avenue and things like that have existed in Chicago for a long time. But the only way you can watch a game is from outside the stadium is pretty wacky to even contemplate that we're here.
They're going to get spoiled, by the way, because I've taken my kids to Panther games where we go into a suite, and now they don't want to sit in the stands anymore. They're like, "Mom, are we going to the box with the food and the bathroom?" So you're going to take them to this hotel. You're going to have food. You're going to have a bathroom right there, and they're going to be like, "Dad, we never want to go sit in the stadium again." That's going to happen.
It is. They're going to be a little bit of sports divas. I don't think there's any doubt at all. All right, so as you roll into the weekend, this is your last weekend before the NFL. How chaotic does your life get when NASCAR is going on at the same time as the NFL?
Not as chaotic as it has been in past seasons. So in past seasons, I would literally work Race Hub Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would have Thursday off, and then I would travel out Friday, come back Sunday. Right now, I'm only hosting twice a week because we're a single host show right now instead of having a double host, just because of social distancing. So it'll be crazier than it has been since February for sure, because I will be traveling on the weekends. But it will not be as crazy as it has been in past years. But hey, listen. I've had, how many months off? And I'm used to working and going forward and being on a schedule and having a routine. And so I'm excited to kind of get back to it. My kids are in school twice a week. They're part of a pod here in the area, the other two. So they're in swimming, they're in diving, they're back in sports. Life is starting to kind of look a little normal.
No doubt. And I texted with you last night. We were setting this up. I mean, I'm coaching or helping be involved in flag football. So, my kids are officially back underway with sports as well. Shannon, have an awesome Labor Day weekend. We appreciate you getting up early with us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Enjoy your day off, Clay.
Will do. That is Shannon Spake.